Right, and welcome to session one or week one. We had a bit of a preview last week and a bit of a jump start on this first session. Today we're going to talk about choosing a topic. I know, looking at the group site, that lots of you have been active on this, and I'm sure some of you are still looking and still trying to figure out how to choose the right topic and also choose one that has potential to be a money-making website. So let's go through that process. A little of this I covered a bit last week, but we got lots of new stuff. You're also going to find we're going to hit our first learning curve throughout this money-making website program. There are certain technical sides to this that you have to learn, and it's a bit of a hurdle. It's a bit of a learning curve, a steep learning curve. Now, some people find that off-putting. I actually find it really interesting because I'm endlessly curious. So when there's something new that I need to learn, I usually kind of embrace that and jump in and learn all about it. And anyway, it's not too bad. I don't want to make it sound like this is an impossible learning curve. It's not at all. Hundreds and hundreds of people have done this before, going through this program. So, first of all, like I said last week, and I'm going to illustrate this with one of my own sites in a moment. Just make sure that the topic really does interest you. There are all other kind of factors that come into play, and we're going to look at some of those in a few minutes. But if you're not endlessly fascinated by your topic, you're gonna run out of steam. You're going to run out of things to say. You're going to give up too soon. So that really is the most important thing. Next thing is choose a topic where you feel comfortable talking with your readers. Like, in other words, on Coffee Detective, I have a question and answer page where people ask me questions and I answer. I also get into conversations with Coffee Detective readers through the Coffee Detective Facebook page, Google Plus page, Pinterest page, Twitter profile, and so on and so forth. I feel totally comfortable chatting with people, stepping out from behind the curtain, as it were, and saying, yes, here's me. My name is Nick Osborne, a.k.a. the Coffee Detective, and whatever you want to talk about when it comes to coffee, I'm here, and I'm always interested to chat with you. That's really important. There was a time, probably say 10 years ago, up until about 8 or 10 years ago, where you could choose any old topic, whether it interested you or not. And if you understood the basics of search engine optimization, you could get onto page one, build an audience, and make some money. It's not like that anymore. The web has changed. You can't kind of play the system in that same way anymore. And it's like readers, and I think it's the influence of social media. Readers kind of demand and expect that you are there and willing to interact with them, to get into conversation with them. So be sure about that. And to illustrate this point, here's a website. This is my website. It still exists. It's called Headphones Best Buys. And the promise there is find your next pair of headphones. Now, this has been around for probably 6 or 7 years ago. I started this. And let me tell you how I got there, because I started it for all the right reasons. I was actually traveling in the UK, because that's where I originally come from. I have family there. And I noticed something in the UK like 8, 9 years ago, 7, 8, 9, I can't remember exactly when, that people were really interested in getting quality headphones. When people bought MP3 players back then, they didn't like to use just the earbuds. A lot of people who really loved music would go out and get a much better pair of headphones. When I came back to North America, that wasn't the case. Back then, there were no kind of Beats headphones back then. None of the big fancy brand names and celebrity headphones you hear about today existed back then. And I came back and I thought, wow, there's a gap here. I bet the same thing that's happening in the UK is going to come to North America, that people are going to be dissatisfied with those horrible little earbuds, and that serious music lovers and trendsetters and followers will want to get a better pair of headphones. So I identified a gap. I identified an opportunity. And when I did my keyword research on headphones, that kind of bore out my supposition is that, it's when I looked at various phrases when it came to headphones, there was pretty good demand, not much supply. Not many sites were addressing this audience, people who actually wanted a better pair of headphones. And the trend, when I used a tool like Google Trends or, Google Insights, things like that, I was seeing a slow increase in interest in this. So I looked at it and I thought, man, this is exactly right. I can build a website and I'm going to be absolutely there and in the right place when all of a sudden North America wakes up to buying quality headphones. And I was 100% right. And it was one of those rare occasions where I looked to the future, said, here's what I think is going to happen, and exactly that did happen. However, the trouble is here, a couple of things. One is I'm not actually that interested in headphones. I'm reasonably interested. I've got 2 or 3 sets of headphones, but I'm not an audiophile. I'm not a tech guy. I don't know how headphones are put together. I don't, when I read some electronic geek article about the various types of magnets used in headphones, I have no idea what they're talking about, and it doesn't really interest me that much. The other thing that happened is that because I'm not a true geek or a true aficionado, I felt very uncomfortable about stepping in front of a curtain and saying, hi, my name's Nick Usborne, I'm all about headphones, ask me anything you like. Because quite rightly, I anticipated that if people started asking me questions about headphones, I wouldn't know the answer, particularly on the more technical side. So here was a topic that I came up with that was perfect in just about every respect. I mean, in terms of making money, it was great because I could put in links to, Amazon or some other affiliate relationship, and people would spend money on headphones and I'd make a commission. I could put Google AdSense ads there. From a money-making point of view, it was strong. From a gap point of view, it was strong. From a rising market point of view, it was perfect. But I wasn't interested enough in headphones, and I wasn't comfortable stepping out and getting into conversation with my readers. And basically, those are the 2 weaknesses. Those are the 2 things that killed this. I mean, I haven't added anything to this site for years. And those are the reasons. So that's why, last week I emphasized, and why in the previous 2 slides I emphasized, the importance of having a topic that truly interests you and having a topic that you feel comfortable getting into conversation about with people. There are a few things there are not many things I feel comfortable about, talking about with authority. I can comfortably, happily talk about coffee with authority. I can happily, comfortably talk about writing for the web or copywriting with authority. I've done those things for the last 30 years. Well, certainly at the copywriting side. So, there are a few things where I feel really comfortable. Now, that said, I don't want to give you the impression that you have to be a hardcore expert from day one. You don't. Like when I started my Coffee Detective website, yes, I was interested. Yes, I was happy to talk about it. But to be honest, for the first few weeks and months, I wasn't that knowledgeable. I just felt comfortable chatting about it. It was interesting to me. I wasn't really, I'm much more of an authority today than I was 7 years ago when it comes to coffee. So that's okay. And in fact, some people set up their websites, their topics, and specifically saying, hey, this is my story. I'm a beginner today. Follow me on my journey. That may be starting a vegetable garden. It may be cycling across the country. It may be whatever it is. So some people set out and say, look, today I begin. Join me on this journey. So they declare that, hey, I'm not an expert today. I'm just beginning my journey. And if you want to come along with me for the ride, that would be great. So, you don't have to be a super-duper expert. You just have to be really interested and happy to share what you're doing with other people. I'm rambling a bit, but it's really important. Another thing, is there enough to write about? So again, if we go back, 6, 7, 8 years when I was playing around with lots of ideas for different money-making websites, I did some keyword research, and we're going to get to that in a little while. And I was looking for topics where there was lots of interest, lots of people interested in the topic, but there really wasn't that much in terms of existing websites. So I found a topic which was in fact garden bridges. Fantastic from a search engine point of view. I knew for a fact I could get onto page 1 of Google back then with a few key phrases relating to garden bridges. And garden bridges basically are those wooden bridges over a little stream in your garden, or often they're decorative. People put in one of those faux streams made out of rocks and pebbles and small stones. So it's just a decorative element within a garden. And there are these little bridges. Often they're kind of curved little humpback bridges. Some of them are kind of Japanese style. And it's just a kind of garden accessory and accent. So I dug into this, and I started building up all these pages for what I would write about for garden bridges. All the keywords were fabulous. I knew I could get great photographs, nice gardens with these beautiful bridges. But then, as I was working out the pages, and I'd done the cedar bridges and the pine bridges and the bridge kits, and I got to about, I was just mapping stuff out, in a Excel or on a Word document, and I got to probably about page 15, and then I thought, what do I write about now? I've covered just about everything there is to say about garden bridges, and I got stuck, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to build a 15-page website, and then I'll have really, everything I try to say after that, I'll just be kind of, I don't know, it'll just be kind of gratuitous and making it up as I go along, because basically I've covered everything you need to know about garden bridges with these 15 pages. So that's another question to ask yourself: is there enough to write about? I mean, like we say with coffee, I'm fine. There's always new coffee brands coming out. There's new coffee equipment coming out. There's new coffee stores being opened all over the place. There's, since I started, there was first wave of gourmet coffee and the second wave, and now we're into the third wave. I mean, the whole industry is always changing. There's always new stuff to write about, and I could write about coffee every day, for the next 20 years. I don't see the topic ever running out. So, and you could say the same about gardening or all kinds of topics. But if you get a little bit too specific, like garden bridges, just be aware that you've got to think about it. Can I write about this for months and months and years ahead? Find the gap. I mean, you have to find the gap. And that was, I guess what I was doing with the garden bridges is I was trying to find a topic that other people weren't already writing about. So I found the gap. I just found there was a bit of a problem with this gap. And I mentioned this. I went into this in some detail last week, so I won't talk about it a lot this time. But that is the nature of the money-making website model, is we don't try to compete with gardening.com or ESPN or, The Economist, or, we can't compete with big name Main Street media or, big magazines and things like that. We have to find a niche. We have to find a space. And that gap could be something that hasn't arrived yet, like the headphone thing. Like I said last week, it could be, okay, I'm not going to talk about yoga, I'm going to talk about yoga for children, or yoga for the retired, or yoga for the disabled, or yoga for teenagers. You find a slice. It could be mountain biking for beginners, or advanced mountain biking, or mountain bike mechanics on the road. You take a slice of the broader topic. Really important to do that. Otherwise, you find yourself competing head-to-head with these major players who have deep pockets and are producing, 20 new pages of content a day. And you just can't compete head-to-head. You have to find your little space, your little slice of the general topic. Right, now Hang on a moment. Now we get to this is the learning curve part. This is the keyword part. So, finding the right topic from a personal point of view that's really interesting to you and that you want to get into discussion with, that's core. But then we have to look at this through another lens, is there an opportunity here? And this is where the keyword research comes in. And the web is amazing that way in terms of the tools you can use to discover whether you have a chance with this niche. So basically, it's about supply and demand. This is what keyword optimization, or SEO, search engine optimization, is all about. So what you want is a good supply and demand ratio. In other words, you want, if you look at the big right-hand box, you want lots of people looking for phrases related to your topic, like noise-canceling headphones. So you want to make sure there's demand, that there are lots of searches, that there's a high volume of interest in keywords relating to your topic. If there isn't, then it means that not many people are interested. And even though there may not be competition out there, well, there isn't competition for a reason, because nobody's interested in this. So you want to make sure there's enough demand. But at the same time, and that's why the box on the left is smaller, because you want it to be smaller, you want to make sure there aren't too many competing pages. So, if I were doing a keyword search for, noise-canceling headphones, I'd want to make sure that thousands of people were searching for that, were interested in that, but that there weren't, tens of thousands of pages on exactly that topic. Because if there are, then it looks like, wow, there's too much competition. So there are tools to figure this out, and we're going to go through that now. But that's the basis of it. Is like, say, if you have a topic, like if we'll go back to headphones, and let's say I had various categories of headphones. It could be, noise-canceling headphones, or it could be celebrity headphones, or it could be in-ear headphones or on-ear headphones. They're all different kinds of headphones. So I can look at all kinds of different phrases, and I can run it through and figure out the demand and the supply and the demand. And I don't expect every single phrase within my topic, in that case headphones, to be a winner. But I need some of my phrases to look, pretty positive for me. Now, if as I go through this part, like I say, it's a slightly technical part. If I lose you, then just go back into the program, because this is covered in detail there. So if we go back to my coffee website, when I started that 7 years ago, my top keywords were best coffee makers, how to make coffee, iced coffee drinks, coffee benefits. Now, over time, keywords change. That supply-demand ratio goes up and down and changes. And in fact, some of these are no longer really good keywords for me. But when I started off, they were. And in fact, these four were basically what I built the website on to begin with. This was my starting point. I found these phrases relating to coffee, and the first version of my website, as it were, for the first 6 months or a year, was basically built on the traffic that I was getting for these phrases. So that's the kind of thing you want to do. You have a topic, you're going to figure out the supply-demand ratio, and you want to find 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 phrases that you think, hey, these are decent, strong phrases for me. Yes, I can build some traffic on this. I'll get some organic search traffic because of these phrases. So now we've got to check out the supply and demand, and like I say, there are tools that you can do that with. Now, this is one of the points where we. Next week in the next session, we're going to choose a platform for you on which to build your website. It might be WordPress, it might be SiteBuilder, it might be something completely different. And your choice of platform will actually ultimately, it will heavily influence your choice of the tool you use to do your keyword research. But this week, while you are figuring out your topic, what I suggest is you go to WordTracker. You have a look at their various product offerings, and they have a monthly thing, and then they have annual things. Go to the monthly thing, sign up for a 7-day free trial. You'll have to give them your credit card information. So what you want to do is make sure you cancel before the 7 days is up. So you got a week on this topic. Get WordTracker for a week, and they'll hate me for saying this, but if you need another week, set up another free trial with a different email address. So that's a kind of sneaky way of getting 14 days free on WordTracker. And like I say, depending on your choice of platform, which we're going to discuss next week, you may choose to continue with WordTracker, or there may be other options available to you. But this is a good tool. WordTracker is very, very good. Again, takes a little time to figure it out, but it's a great way to, at this stage of the program, to figure out the supply and demand, and to figure out whether your topic idea or one of your topic ideas has strong potential. So one thing I just want to show you here in the screenshot in the background there, again, I think it's noise-canceling headphones. So you type in noise-canceling headphones, and then it lists a whole bunch of phrases related to that, and maybe misspellings of that. And those phrases that it lists, you can see in the background there, there's a whole list, and all of them are related to noise-canceling headphones, and they're all phrases that members of the public type into Google when they're interested in noise-canceling headphones. Now, what I've done, that front part is a blow-up of the screenshot in the background, and I just want you to understand something about this. So, the first column says volume. That is a relative number talking about the volume of people who are interested in the phrase. All right? Competition, the second column, is the number of websites out there that are also optimized for this phrase. In other words, that's your competition. All right, so this is the supply-demand thing. Here they talk about volume and competition. The third column is called KEI. This stands for Keyword Effectiveness Index, and it's simply just they have this equation, this mini algorithm, which looks at the volume and competition and spits out a number between 1 and 100 that gives you is this a strong keyword or not. So they're looking at volume versus competition, and they're saying, is this strong? Does this have potential? A keyword that has 60, 70, 80, 90 as a KEI is saying, hey, this is fantastic. There are tons of people interested in this phrase, searching with this phrase, but there are not many websites and pages that are delivering content related to this page. So you want as high a KEI as you can get, Keyword Effectiveness Index. So that's what you do. Like whatever your topic, come up with a whole bunch of phrases where you think, hey, if people are interested in this topic, maybe they'd use this phrase. And you have to play around. You have to experiment. Like, when I first got into coffee, and I think, okay, if people are interested in coffee makers, what do they type in? Do they type in coffee maker or coffee brewer or coffee machine? I didn't know. So, I used this tool or a tool like it to figure out, say, oh, okay, people tend to type in coffee machines much more often. That's a clue that you should be talking about coffee machines on your pages rather than coffee makers or coffee brewers. But then you look at the competition. How many other people have pages optimized for this phrase? And the KEI tells you that. Now, a lot of people as a platform use WordPress because, to start off with, it's either free or very inexpensive, and it's a great platform. And there are all kinds of free plugins that describe themselves as SEO plugins. And they are in a sense, but what they don't offer is this KEI column. And without that column, you basically know nothing. So do not be tempted to go for a free SEO option that does not give you a KEI column or an equivalent, and I'll show you an equivalent in a moment. You have to be able to calculate the relative supply and demand. You have to be able to look at a number and say, hey, this is a really strong keyword, I'll build a page around this, or it's a really weak keyword, I like it, but I'm going to have to forget it because there's too much competition and not enough demand. So, just to show, I was saying the equivalence to KEI. This is SiteBuildIt. SiteBuildIt is a platform we'll talk about next week, but included within the platform, they have their own keyword research tool called Brainstormer. And if you have a look at columns, again, we're talking about headphones here. You've got Bluetooth headphone adapter, best in-ear headphones, Hello Kitty headphones, over-the-ear headphones, Skull Candy headphones, all kinds of different phrases related to headphones. And again, these are all pulled out of Google of like, hey, these are the phrases that members of the public type into Google when they're interested in this topic. So you have value demand and value supply in those columns 2 and 3. So again, we're getting those supply and demand figures. The fourth column says profitability. And I have clicked the top of that column so that is from the highest to the lowest. Now, WordTracker does it between 0 and 100. SiteBuildIt has a different system, but the process is the same. In other words, the keyword with the highest profitability, the potential profitability in terms of that supply-demand ratio is, in fact, Bluetooth headphone adapter. So if I was still, working on my headphones Best Buy's website, I would look at this and say, wow, I'm gonna create a page on Bluetooth headphone adapter because it has fantastic profitability KEI. In other words, tons of people are interested in learning about it, but there's hardly any information available right now. So do you get the general drift here? The amazing thing here is back when I was, pre-internet days, when I was in the advertising marketing business, there's no way you could understand this kind of thing. We used to do all kinds of research. It was very expensive, very limited, and didn't really tell us very much in the marketing world. Here, because of the technology of the internet, it's incredible because you can, in fact, use a tool that digs into, terabytes of information, real-time information on the web, and identifies exactly the words people are using when they're searching on Google and the other major search engines. You know what people are searching. You know the phrases they're using. And when you find one, or the equivalent of Bluetooth headphone adapter, where you have a lot of people interested but very little in the way of existing information online, that's a strong signal of wow, I've got to build a page. I've got to write a page all about this because I'm going to get myself on page 1 of the search results. If you end up, and I'll probably mention this again next week, using WordPress, you can, in fact, I can't remember the price, but it's relatively inexpensive in terms of keyword research tools. There's a plugin called BizExpress, which actually gives you access to this SBI SiteBuildIt Brainstormer tool without having to use the SiteBuildIt platform. You can, in fact, use WordPress, but you can still use that Brainstormer tool. So that's that. And I know, for some of you who've done this before, it's easy. For people who are completely new to this, this is, like I say, it's one of the learning curves. People and whatever you're using, whether you're using WordTracker or SiteBuildIt Brainstormer, the first few moments you look at that screen and you think, oh my goodness, how on earth does this work? And it takes a little time. Hey, but think about it. The first time you went to Facebook, you thought, oh my goodness, how does this work? And you figure it out. And once you figure it out, it's easy. So don't get too stressed about it. But like I say in the program, you should open up some of that Excel spreadsheet, and on the left you're going to have 3 or 4 or 5 different potential topics, and then you start figuring out, okay, which one of these topics is going to be the best for me. And part of it is, hey, am I really interested? Hey, would I want to chat and talk about this through social media? And another column is, how strong is it in terms of keyword optimization? Do I have a strong supply-demand ratio? And if you love the topic and you do this search engine optimization thing and the SEO side is a disaster, I would hesitate however much you love the topic, because it probably means you're going head-to-head against some very well-established competition. So you would, if you can't find, 4 or 5 or 6 strong phrases in terms of that supply-demand ratio, I would put a question mark against that topic, because you're really having now to push this thing uphill because of the competition. I'm not saying it's going to be impossible, but you have to work much, much harder if you don't give yourself a kind of keyword, a search engine advantage. Because what we want for our sites is we want the traffic, most of the traffic, to come to us through people searching on Google and Bing and Yahoo. We want that organic traffic. We don't want to pay for traffic. We want people who go to search engines and type in Bluetooth headphone adapter to find our page, our website, on page 1 of the results in Google or Bing or Yahoo. That's how we want the traffic to come. If your supply-demand ratios are terrible across all of the key phrases you can think of for your topic, you're not going to be on page 1 or page 2. And like I say, it doesn't make it impossible that you succeed, but you're really putting yourself at a bit of a disadvantage. But, don't get too stressed if you find, if you do 20 keywords and only 5 out of the 20 have a half-decent supply-demand ratio, that's okay. I started off with Coffee Detective with just 4 or 5 strong keywords. The others weren't. So that's okay. You can do it that way. And in fact, Google's immensely frustrating. 1 year it's a best friend to someone like me with Coffee Detective. The next year it seems to be wanting to, beat us down into submission. And I've seen some ups and downs with Google. Fortunately, I'm seeing a big up right now. My traffic for Coffee Detective has kind of doubled since last year, which is great. But then again, a couple of years ago, they halved it. So I'm pretty much back where I was. Like I say, it can be frustrating up and down. But Google does actually want to help people like us. Here was an article from a while back. Google's still working on promoting subject-specific authorities in search results. In other words, they recognize that when people are looking for information on the website, they're not necessarily just wanting to find garden.com or space.com or amazon.com. The searchers don't just want the big players. Searchers also want to find individual experts, the kind of expert next door, the person who isn't a celebrity but is in fact a very interesting and engaging authority on a subject. Google wants to help you. So that's the good news. Some of this sounds complicated, some of it sounds difficult, but Google does want to help. Another thing, and like I say, you want to start off with a few strong phrases saying, hey, this will get me started. But here's an interesting thing, is that sometimes the strongest keyword phrases are ones over time that you'll discover through your readers, through your users. So these phrases here, I never came across any of these phrases during my keyword research. I found them because of one thing. On my Coffee Detective site, I have a Q&A page. I submit a question for me, and I will answer it. So I get all kinds of questions. I don't answer all of them because some of them are repeats of what I've answered before, and some of them are just silly. So I go to, all the questions that are submitted, I go through them, and if I think, hey, that's interesting, we haven't covered this before or in this way, and other people might be interested, I'll create a page based on the question asked and my written answer. So one of the questions that came in is coffee fattening. Now, I'd never thought, it never occurred to me to write a page on the topic of is coffee fattening. It had never come up in my keyword research. But that is, for the last 5 years, has been a huge page for me. Tens of thousands of people have come to my site because they wanted to find out whether coffee's fattening. But the granddaddy of all of these, the 800-pound gorilla of all of these, is a D-scale Keurig brewer. Again, it never occurred to me that this was something people would be interested in. It turns out that people's Keurig brewers were stopping. The D-scale light would go on. People would descale their brewer with vinegar or some kind of purchased cleaning product, and it still wouldn't work. Anyway, so I wrote an answer to this, and it was all about following the descale instructions. And then after the answer, I invite comments from other people, and someone came in with this comment back in 2011 and said, look, there's actually a problem inside the machine. It's not about descaling. What you have to do is you have to take off the water tank, take off the drip tray, unplug your brewer, turn it upside down over a sink, and spank it. Spank its bottom like 3 or 4 times, quite hard. Then plug it back in again, and it'll work. So I received the question. I wrote an answer, which actually wasn't very helpful, but a reader came in with this tip, and now this spank and burp solution to Keurig brewers not working has, Coffee Detective is the #1 destination on the web for people whose Keurig brewers have broken down. I didn't find this through search engine optimization. I didn't even create this tip in my answer. One of my readers back in 2011 came up with this tip, and lots of people tried it. And if you do a search for descale Keurig brewer, you'll find the page. Scroll down. There are hundreds of comments there. This is a huge page for me in terms of visitors arriving. Alcoholic coffee drinks. I hadn't thought of that. Are K-Cups recyclable? All of these have come either through just like I thought, wow, people are using this phrase. I don't actually have people were using the alcoholic coffee drinks phrase. They were arriving at I think a basic coffee drinks recipe page on my website, but it wasn't specifically about alcoholic coffee drinks. But I realized here was a keyword lots of people were using, and I thought, hey, all right, I'm going to build a page specific to alcoholic coffee drinks, which I did, and is now very popular. Are K-Cups recyclable? That was another question that came in. So you start off with your best bet. You do your keyword research using something like WordTracker. You find your starting group of keywords that have a decent supply-demand ratio, a reasonably strong KEI or profitability index. That's your starting point. As you progress with your website, and particularly if you get into conversations with your readers, you will start finding new phrases that didn't appear in that research and still don't. I mean, the research isn't perfect. But yeah, this is a process. Also, social media is a much bigger part of this question. And another question I would ask myself today if I were starting out with a money-making website is this a topic that people like to talk about through social media? As it happens, I'm quite fortunate with coffee because when I started Coffee Detective site, social media barely existed. But coffee is something people love to talk about in social media. That was just plain luck for me that the arrival of social media kind of lifted my topic up a bit. Photographs of different coffees and coffee art and coffee shops and all that kind of stuff. Images and photos are very popular. So I put those all over Facebook and Google+. A couple of years ago, I started a Pinterest account, and of course they then become also sources of traffic. So even at times when Google has been unkind to me, and I haven't been receiving as much Google or search engine traffic as I would like, some of that slack has been taken up through the arrival and growth of social media, because I get lots of traffic coming in now where people find out about Coffee Detective on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or YouTube or Pinterest. I mean, I have, my videos on YouTube have been viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. It's the first time they've come across Coffee Detective. After they've watched the video, they click through and discover Coffee Detective, the website, and have a look around. And that's why another topic idea I really like is like to have this kind of how-to. My things are like how to make coffee with a French press, how to, or review, lots of sort of demonstrations. Videos can be incredibly powerful. And again, this is all part and parcel of, social media. So step 5, is there any money at the end of the rainbow? This is a consideration. Hang on, I'm just going to have a sip of drink here. I came out wrong. I wasn't having a sip of drink. I was having a sip of water. Is there money at the end of the rainbow? So that's another thing to consider. Like I say, with my headphones, I thought, hey, this is cool because people, if they buy, $100 pair of headphones, then, maybe I'll get $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 out of that sale. And I'm okay with coffee makers or espresso machines because, if it's a $100 coffee maker or a $500 espresso machine and I make 7, 8, 9, 10% as a commission, okay, that's good. But let's say with my coffee thing, I was talking about coffee equipment. It was all just about bags and cans of coffee. Well, then I might be a little challenged to make money because let's say, a bag of coffee goes for $10, and let's say I'm getting a 7% commission on it. Well, that's 70 cents. How I got to sell. I've got to get an awful lot of traffic, an awful lot of people clicking on those affiliate links, an awful lot of people buying those bags of coffee at the other end. If I want to make a decent income, 70 cents at a time. Hey, if I can get $7 at a time, I can make income much faster. So that's something to consider. Is you look at your topic and say, hey, behind this topic, what are the products and services that people might buy? Hey, if it's about mountain biking, and people might find, you find affiliate relationships where a company is selling bikes, and the bike sells for $600, $1,000. That's great. All right. So you got to think about that because yes, there is. If you come up with a topic and everything is great, then that's fine. And hey, maybe it doesn't turn out to be a huge moneymaker, but you'd love to do it anyway, and it's great, and a certain amount of income comes in. That's fine. But if your intention from the outset is that, a very important part of this for me is making an income from it. Yes, I'm going to enjoy it, but a key part of my plan here is revenue, then this is a consideration. Better to refer someone who buys a flat screen TV than someone who buys a paperback book, simply because of the relative, potential revenue that you can get. Now, there's a tool here, and somebody said, like in the chat, that they couldn't get into Keyword Spy. I just went in there just before this presentation, and it works fine. So here's just an illustration. You get a Keyword Spy, you type in, I've typed in here gold coins, and then you see at the bottom right there, I've enlarged part of the result there. And you see some keywords down the left, buy gold coins, bullion gold coins, American Eagle coins. And on the right-hand column, you've got a search volume, so you'll get a relative. You can see how many people search for that term. And on the right is something called CPC, which is basically is the cost per click. So this isn't about organic search. We're not going to get it. We don't want to buy ads. We want to get organic traffic to our website. But this is a useful tool nevertheless because it shows me that for buy gold coins, an advertiser, basically the cost per click column tells you what advertisers are spending per click. So if you had a web page about buy gold coins and you had Google AdSense ads there, this tool tells you that when someone clicks on that Google AdSense ad, you'll get a proportion of $7.69. Now, the way AdSense works, and we go into this more detail in a future week, but basically you split the revenue with Google, you get more than half. So you're going to get more. You'll probably get a good $4 per click. That's pretty amazing. Now, there are other terms. I put in gold coins because these are high. These are high cost per clicks. But whatever your topic, put it in there. Look at that cost per click. If it's $3, $4, $5, that's great. If it's 30 cents, if it's 24 cents, if it's 72 cents, keep in mind you're only going to make about half of that per click. So this just gives you, if you get a keyword spy, you put it. Let's say you're still trying to make up your mind between 3 or 4 topic ideas. Take 1 or 2 keywords from each idea or key phrase, plunk them into Keyword Spy, and it'll just give you an idea of the potential profitability of that topic. Like, in other words, do advertisers pay a lot or a little to attract traffic on this topic? All right, you're not going to use Keyword Spy as part of building the website. It just gives you a snapshot. It gives you this view of, hey, are advertisers willing to pay a decent amount of money for visitors on this topic? And the higher that number, the better from your point of view. But I will add a caveat to that. We're not the only people using this tool or tools like it, which means that the higher the CPC, like say with gold coins, there's intense competition out there, very, very competitive. If you put in and to go Keyword Spy insurance, though the CPC numbers read, you can get things like $23, $17, $11. Companies are paying $20 per click, and you think, oh my goodness, this is an incredible moneymaker. I'm going to go for it. Well, again, go back to your word tracker and figure things out, because what you're going to discover is that there is massive competition. In other words, the higher the potential revenue, the higher the CPC, the greater the competition. So you've got to find that sweet spot. All right, you've got to find that in between, where there's a decent amount of money to be made through advertising and affiliate programs, but it's not too large, because the larger those figures, the greater the competition is going to be. I hope I'm not losing you on this. This is one of the sessions where, like I say, there's a bit of a learning curve. But anyway, we've got questions coming up in a minute, and you have the program to fall back on. So in conclusion on that, pick a topic that really interests you, make sure there's enough to write about, and feel comfortable to talk about. Do your best to get strong supply-demand ratio. Create your site with social media in mind. This is a newer element, but it's important. And also, once you've got the basics right, once you've chosen a topic and basically all the pieces have fallen into place, it's not a miracle topic, but it's not a dog, and you say, hey, you know what? The figures are pretty good on this, and I feel comfortable, and I feel very happy with this. After that, it's all about being stubborn and persistent. Hey, with Coffee Detective, there have been times over the years where I've come up with lots of reasons for giving it up. Either I've been too busy on other stuff, or I've kind of got bored with it for a bit, or Google has come up with some update that's kind of slammed me. But I'm stubborn and persistent, and I just keep trucking away. And in fact, at the moment with Coffee Detective, it's on a big upswing, big increase in traffic, looking very good, particularly for this time of year, because coffee is actually very seasonal, and you may find that with topics you look at. People buy far more in the way of coffee equipment than coffee during the cold winter months. And this time of year, people tend not to buy much in the way of new coffee equipment, and they buy less coffee. So, that's seasonal. You'll find something obviously like skiing is seasonal. Again, it depends on what part of the country you live in or what part of the world you live in. So that's something that may well impact you. Obviously, gardening is seasonal. But say with something like gardening, it's seasonal, yes, and there are certain times of year when people will be more likely to buy, like in the spring. They'll be buying more equipment, buying more seeds, buying more fertilizer, whatever it is. But there's still plenty to write about on gardening at any time of year, whether it's preparing your garden for the fall or protecting your plants during the winter or getting ready with your seedlings in the early spring, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop talking now and we can go into some questions. So, Cam, if you have some questions lined up for me. I know you're there, Cam. Come on, give me a question.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can.
Oh, I'm sorry. I unmuted myself and muted myself. We do have some questions lined up for you.
All right.
The first one was from Bert, and he said, Nick, I'm in the midst of creating my copywriting business and need a great website to attract customers. Will this program help me set up a website like this for the purpose of attracting clients as well as some ways to monetize it?
Yeah. I know we had a similar question last week. I've got copywriting clients through my Coffee Detective website. I have a website, in fact, related to gold, which I write under a pen name called Owning Gold. And I had a client asking me if it was a financial services client and particularly precious metals and gold bullion, and they said, do you know anything about this? And I said, yes, go and check out my gold site. And he checked it out, and he said, you're hired. So yes, demonstrating your ability to write content, to put together a website, to understand social media, to understand search engine optimization, these are all skills that are important for you as a freelance writer and copywriter online. And a money-making website gives you an opportunity to demonstrate your skills. In other words, you don't have to argue, you don't have to persuade, you don't have to try and prove anything. You just say, yes, I know all this stuff. Check out my website. Yes, I know how to write web content. Yes, I understand SEO. Yes, I understand social media marketing. Because it's what you do every day with your own website. It's kind of living proof. It's the ultimate proof of your skills online is to have a content-rich website of your own that you can show prospective clients in that niche.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. And Dawn is wondering, she's interested in natural and holistic health for Christian educating, inspiring, and connecting with the audience and with local providers they can trust. So there's tons of keyword searches on natural health, but none on Christian natural health. What do you think?
Well, again, you have to go out there and use that tool. Is there sufficient demand? If you think of a whole bunch of phrases that people might use when searching for Christian natural health, start off with that phrase. And find out, use like Word Tracker and say how, and you'll find out whether there is sufficient demand, whether there are enough people interested in it. That's the whole point of that, using Word Tracker for the 7-day free trial, is to figure out the answer to exactly that question. Is there sufficient demand for this topic, and how much competition is there for it right now?
Perfect. And the next question is kind of quick. It's is Merchant Words a good keyword research tool?
Is what?
Merchant Words?
Not familiar with it. Never heard of it.
Okay. All right. And then Derek asked, what does Targets do? I'm not sure if that was a question, about something you said.
What does what do?
What does Targets do? Derek, if you could just clarify your question for me, that would be great. We'll get it answered.
By the way, I just went to Merchant Words, back to that other thing. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, okay. Guess more on that next week.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. All right, I'm going to spend a bit more time on Merchant Words. It's kind of interesting because it's from a merchant point of view. It says see what Amazon users are searching for. In other words, what potential buyers are searching for. So that's an interesting. We can put that in the update to the program we're working on right now.
Cool. And so, obviously, I'm guessing Google Analytics is still something that's up and running, and people are using it for that.
Well, Google Analytics is a little different. It's not a keyword search tool. It's an analytics tool. Once you have your website up and running, it gives you data on how many people are coming to your website, where they're coming from, the keywords they're using, although they don't give you much information on that these days, how people are behaving when they get onto your website. And there's tons of stuff. So that is after you have your website running. And we'll talk about that in a future week of adding Google Analytics code to your website so that everything is tracked and you can see. It's an amazing tool.
Awesome. And then real quick, Anne wrote in that BizExpress is $99. That must have been referring to when you were saying.
Right. I believe I'm going to touch on that again next week. So $99 for, and that's it for a year, I believe. That is. I'm going to leave that till next week. We'll look at that next week.
Perfect. And then Derek says, what if you can get way more people wanting to buy paperback books than you can get people buying a flat screen TV?
Sure, it is. So if you figure out a way, if you do your research and say, you know what, I'm only going to make 70 cents per purchase, but I've figured out a way to get massive volume here, then yeah, you'll make up you'll make it up in volume. So yes, that's part of the calculation. I'd rather have 100,000 visitors buying paperback books and suddenly realize I can only get 10 visitors or 3 visitors buying a flat screen TV. It all comes down to the math in the end.
Okay, great. And then Rick is wondering, he said he believes that last week you had said you established a separate website for coffee consulting.
Yes.
He's wondering what that web address is.
Zero Decaf.
Like ZERO?
ZERODECAF.com.
Great.
Now,
thank you.
That kind of formalizes my interest in coffee marketing. But I had picked up coffee client business beforehand simply from Coffee Detective, because people would say, "Hey Nick," they Googled me, they discovered I was the coffee guy, but I was also the online marketing, copywriting guy, and they thought, "Oh wow!" So they got in touch with me. But the Zero Decaf kind of formalizes my kind of combined experience in marketing and the coffee business.
Okay, great. And then here, the next question we have is from Mary. She says, can you say anything about creating a website for kids, either in terms of advertising or regarding kids' presence on the web? Can a site for children be viable?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's actually one of the earlier participants in this program, I've forgotten. That's right. She actually built her website with her kids, and it was her daughter. Yeah, it was her daughter, and her daughter was all about pink. Pink was their favorite color. It's probably green today, but back then it was pink. And so she and her mum built this website. Everything that was colored pink. And in fact, then they had links through to Amazon for pink purses and pink teddy bears and pink bags and pink T-shirts and pink shoes and pink bikes. So her theme, her niche was basically pink, a color, and it was related to she did it with her kid. So basically, it was everything that a kid might buy that's pink. So it was kind of interesting because she did it with her child, it became. It was a fun family project, and it was kind of unique because the niche was pink, a color rather than a subject. But yeah, she had a ton of products that she could point to. Pink doll houses, pink slides for outside, whatever a kid could want that is pink. There were links to it on Amazon and some other affiliate websites. So yeah. Definitely that you can do stuff for kids. You can do stuff for kids. You can do stuff with kids.
That's excellent. So Carmen is asking, she said, what do you mean when you said create your site with social media in mind? Well,
social media has had a huge impact on how people use the web. In fact, a lot of people, I've forgotten the proportion of people. It's something like, I think in North America, something like 45% of people basically treat Facebook as the web. They log into Facebook in the morning. They chat with their friends. They browse. They upload. They comment. They play games. They buy pizza. They buy airline tickets. They basically don't go, they don't travel the World Wide Web. They just stay within the confines of Facebook. Now, that's an extreme example, but people spend a huge amount of time on Facebook, particularly, with their tablets and their smartphones, and particularly if you get into younger age group. I look at my stepdaughter; she's 15, and a significant part of her life is spent on the social media platforms. She's just with friends, hanging out, and it may be Snapchat where they're chatting to each other on video, or some other platform where they're sharing photographs, or just talking or texting. So social media has become very big. So you want to make sure that you enable that social media conversation. So if you go to Coffee Detective, you'll find that with one click you can go to my Google Plus page. You can get to the end of an article or a page on my site and click on a Facebook or Twitter link to share that page with other people. You just need to kind of enable the conversation. A lot of the conversation now happens in social media. So you want to make it easy for people. You also take advantage of it. Like I say, I have dozens of, let's say a dozen social media accounts associated with Coffee Detective. Each day I'm active on my Coffee Detective Facebook page, my Coffee Detective Google Plus page, my Coffee Detective Twitter page. Those three I'm active on probably 5 days a week. I do something, I add something, I contribute something, I answer something. Like I said before, my Coffee Detective YouTube I've only got something like 15 videos up there, but I've had, I think it's like something like 250,000 views of those videos so far. So being active in social media has become an important part of kind of appealing to people, because people, the public, like to spend a lot of time on social media and interacting. So you want to accommodate that. Also, like I say, I'm fortunate that things like coffee, beverage, food, very popular topic on social media. Food in general, food and drink in general is very popular in social media. So like I said, that would be something I'd think about this time around if I was starting a new topic. I'd say, hey, is this social media friendly? Is this something that people... And I think most topics probably are, but it's certainly something I'd look at and say, what kind of traction can I get here with social media?
Very good. And so Retha has asked, her topic is Bible Study Quest. She finds a lot of keywords under Bible study and Bible quizzes and trivia, but not Bible Study Quest. So she's wondering if she should use keywords related to Bible study.
Right. So I've followed this conversation on the group site and jumped in once on that one. I think the Quest idea is kind of interesting because it gives it a unique kind of angle rather than just Bible study group or Bible. Quest makes it sound a little different, a little interesting. But that doesn't mean to say that Quest has to be included among your keywords. Just because it's part of your domain name doesn't mean to say it has to be a top keyword. So you can use more familiar phrases that people are searching with more frequently as your keywords. And when they come to your website, then they say, oh, look, this is interesting. It's, Bible Study Quest. That's a little different. I must spend a bit more time here. I must check it out. I must tell my friends about it. So, hey, it's like Coffee Detective is basically descriptive of my website. It says to people, hey, this is about coffee, and the word detective implies that I'm kind of, figuring out everything you need to know and digging deep and finding information for you about coffee. But Coffee Detective is not a keyword I optimize for. I mean, nobody does a search for Coffee Detective, and that phrase, unless they've heard of me or unless they've heard of the site. So the domain name doesn't have to be a strong key phrase in itself. Although, obviously I have coffee in there. But again, next week I'll talk about this a lot more next week when we talk about domain names. But yeah, I think the Quest part is interesting, but no, it doesn't have to be a key part of your SEO. It doesn't have to be a strong keyword search phrase.
All right. And so Dawn already did some keyword research, and she found no one searching for phrases related to natural health with Christians. But she's thinking that Christians who are searching for natural health might just happen across her website. Does that make sense?
Not necessarily.
Right.
because if I do a search for natural health, and natural health as a topic is broad and very, very competitive. So just because I do a search for natural health, there's certainly no guarantee that I'll come across, because the search engine doesn't know if the person at the computer is Christian or not. If you don't type in the word Christian, then basically, as far as your computer and Google are concerned, you're just interested in natural health. So no, there's no guarantee there.
Okay. And Quentin's wondering, would the accelerated copywriting program help him write content better or easier for his money-making website? Do you think there's a value there?
No, the accelerated program is more about copywriting, sales copywriting as a craft. It's a wonderful program. Anyone who wants to do copywriting, I recommend it. Actually, and again, I have to be careful because this is self-serving, but if you're looking for a companion writing program, you'd be better off with Copywriting 2.0, which is a program I wrote because that's specifically about writing for the web and covers copy and content in terms of writing for the web. So if you wanted a kind of professional-grade companion program, I'd go for Copywriting 2.0.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And Pamela's wondering on AdWords, when the volume is high, but they say the competition is low, is that where we would begin to focus our keywords?
Yeah. Say it again. What did you say? Where you said
where the volume of the amount of people who are searching is high, but then the competition is low. So
that's what you want.
That's the perfect spot to jump in. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's what she was thinking. And Victoria's interested in two ideas. She's interested in political issues or possibly a "this is your town" site, but she doesn't know how to monetize either of them. Do you have any knowledge or suggestions on monetizing them? I guess that's another session too, huh?
Yeah, that's another session. Let me see off the top of my head. Politics or "this is your town." It depends on whether it's a specific town. I know somebody who's monetized very successfully, not for a town, but for a coastal area.
Yeah, she's in San Diego, California.
Right. So yeah, hey, it's difficult. I'd have to go through the same process, the same research. But if you ask me off the top of my head, which I thought would have the greatest potential for monetization, I'd probably choose San Diego over politics. Could be wrong.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
Right.
I'm making that judgment in the absence of the information I need to look at, but that's just off the top of my head.
Okay, great. And Donna has noticed a couple links that we have, pulse.ebay.com and buzz.yahoo.com.
Yeah, the Buzz Yahoo thing is dead. I think the eBay, the research tool, is still there, but I think they call it by a different name. Actually, as a favor, as you go through, if people can alert me or alert AWII to any problems like this, where the links don't work or the service seems to have disappeared, I shouldn't ask you or need to ask you, but I might as well. Because like I say, we are in fact at the moment doing it all the time. We're going through and trying to update things that are out of date. And then every once in a while we do a comprehensive. We just sit down and go through the whole program line by line. And that's what we're doing right now. We actually just started yesterday on that. So if you come across stuff where you think, hey, Nick needs to update this, if you can let us know, that'd be great. That'd be very helpful.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick. And please, a member services is happy to receive those and pass them on to the appropriate person. Or you can let us know.
Actually, that'd be perfect if they could come to you. I mean, if they could come to customer services, services, that'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Perfect. And Allison has been using SBI. She says it's amazing to see how some keywords are initially, amazing with high demand, a low supply, but then sometime later the data is updated and they're no longer good keywords. How often has this happened in your experience?
Yeah, it happens. I think I mentioned that during this session. It does happen. Hey, there was a time, I think in about 2009 where if you typed in the word coffee, just the one word coffee, in other words, the topic, then Coffee Detective came up on page 1. I think it was like that for a few months. No way today. And like I was saying, some of my original keyword phrases like best coffee maker, I used to be on page 1, not anymore. Then there are other phrases where I didn't do very well a few years ago, and I do very well now. So that the whole supply-demand thing is in a constant state of flux. It's constantly changing. Again, let me describe the Coffee Detective experience. When I started Coffee Detective, there were maybe 20 to 50 other sites out there who I would consider competition. That's when I started Coffee Detective. I was competing against 20 to 50 other sites of reasonable quality. 4 years later, 5 years later, it was not just 20 or to 50 sites, it was thousands of sites. Suddenly everyone jumped on the bandwagon and wanted to create a website or a blog about coffee. So the competition went nuts in terms of other websites, other pages. And this is, so I had to fight against that. I had to constantly improve, constantly expand my website to fight this ever-growing crowd of competitors. And this is where this stubbornness and persistence pays off, because one of the things I've noticed now is that most of those people who started those competing sites have given up now. They jumped in, things seem to be going well. As soon as things got a little bit difficult, like those original keywords that they thought would do well, that did well for them on day one, were no longer doing well for them, they gave up. So in fact, I actually have now less competition than I did a couple of years ago. So yes, it'll change. The supply and demand ratios constantly change over the months and over the years. Which means, that's why this whole business of optimizing for keywords and phrases isn't something you just do today. It's something I do each week myself, 7 years in, because it's always changing. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Right, absolutely. Keeps us on our toes, too. Bert's wondering if there is an advantage or disadvantage to using his own name for his copywriting business or domain name.
Well, we're getting onto a different topic here. I would say, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it really is, it's for a different call, but there's very little downside to using your own name for a copywriting website. It's a good thing. My copywriting site is nickosborne.com. It's fine. It brands me as the writer, as the copywriter.
Okay, perfect. That makes a lot of sense. And let's see, Vicki has found that when she's researching that there's a large draw for gift baskets, but no real directory or finder to help people find them. So the volume is high, but there's no competition for this service. So this is what we're looking for, correct?
Yep. And if that's the case, I have a page on, I've noticed something like that. I have a page on my coffee site for coffee gift baskets specifically. So yeah, that's what you're looking for. Is lots of interest and demand, and very little supply.
It's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
Maritha's wondering, is Google Keyword Planner tool an option to use for keywords?
Say that again, and I'll probably have, what's it called again?
Sorry, the Google Keyword Planner tool. Is that something good to use for keywords?
Well, I'm going to have a look, because
it sounds to me like it would be.
Oh, is it the Google AdWords? The Google AdWords Keyword Planner? The Google AdWords
Planner, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't give you. What it does is it tells you whether there's a lot of competition, or not too much, or hardly any. It gives you a very general sense of whether a keyword is good, medium, or bad. What it doesn't give you is that specific either KEI number or profitability number. So I've used the Google AdWords Keyword Planner as a way to get a general idea but it's not really something I rely on. And actually, I quickly sort of typed in the keyword planner because it's been a long time since I've used it, because I generally use something like Word Tracker or the Site Build It brainstormer tool.
Cool. See, I know we have a lot of questions left. I don't know that we'll get to all of them. Let's try
I've got time
more.
for a couple more, yeah.
Okay. How do you know if your topic is seasonal, and what do you do during the low season? Maybe work on another site?
Well, it's, like I say, there's generally, if it's gardening, there's always, if you're an avid gardener, yes, gardening is extremely seasonal, but there's always something to talk about and something to learn and something to write about all year round. But like I say, coffee is, I didn't realize it when I started. I had no idea that coffee was so seasonal, but it's very seasonal. But at this time of year, people are still interested in iced coffee. They're still interested in general information about coffee. I shared a page on Facebook the other day about antioxidants in coffee. All right? And people were fascinated by that. It seems that for Americans, the coffee is the number one source of antioxidants in our diets. People found that very interesting, and they read the page, they shared the page a lot. So it's not a page where I know that people are going to buy coffee makers or going to buy coffee, but hey, I can still put my AdSense ads on that page. I can still make a little revenue off that page. And what I'm doing is I'm holding the attention of my audience, and I'm building my audience during the summer so that I can actually make more money from them in the winter. I mean, I probably make as much money on Coffee Detective in November, December, January as I do for the rest of the year combined. And that's true for coffee equipment makers as well. Yeah, but I don't stop writing about coffee in the summer because I keep trying to build my audience and finding out what they're interested in. And the stronger I go in the summer, the bigger and more engaged my audience is for the winter months.
Okay, and would you spend money to use the research tools past the free trial?
Again, it depends what you're doing. Like if you use Site Build It, you don't have to buy a keyword research tool because the price of Site Build It includes the Brainstormer tool, which is very, very good. If you're using WordPress, like I say, you can still access that Brainstormer tool through that Biz Express plugin. Which is a lot less expensive than Word Tracker over the course of a year. Word Tracker for a whole year is much more expensive than that Biz Express plugin. So yes, you want a kind of professional grade keyword research tool available all the time, but you don't want to pay too much for it.
Right.
What I'm suggesting is that next week we talk about the platform. So prior to choosing a platform, but at this stage where you want to use a keyword research tool to help finalize your choice of topic, then the Word Tracker 7-day free trial is a good way to go. So there's no commitment there. You cancel it before the 7 days are up. You haven't paid anything, but you've had access to a really good tool to help you choose your topic.
And what would you consider to be a really good KEI?
Oh, it's very hard to say. Like I say, in Word Tracker, it tends to be between 0 and 100. So, often, anything over. Hey, I've used keywords where the KEI is only about 20. Much better if it's 55 or 75. Under 20, and you're kind of reaching a bit. And you'll find then between tools like Word Tracker and Site Build It, they use totally different systems. The figures, bear no relation across different tools. So it's the relative strength that you're looking for. So Yeah, with WordTracker, I know I've used a 22 KEI, 27 KEI, but I'm really looking for something, if I can, north of 50. They're not easy to find these days. They were easier to find a few years ago.
Okay, great. And then one more question. Let's see. This is a question from Dale, and he says, when you come up with a topic, how do you go about determining what you could market on it?
Basically, you start you build your site, you make it information rich, you make it really useful, really helpful, entertaining, shareable, and you will soon learn. Again, using something like Google Analytics, listening to your visitors, you will find out. Your website will teach you what your visitors and readers are interested in. Also, it's trial and error, and again, we'll talk about this more during that monetization session. Is you're constantly trying new stuff, and some stuff you think is going to be a winner is, and sometimes it isn't. So trial and error, you just keep trying to find the best ways to monetize the site.
Great, Nick. Thank you so much. Those are your questions for today.
Good. Our 60-hour sessions always often turn into, our 60-minute sessions often turn into 90-minute sessions.
They do.
There you go.
That's because you're so helpful and people have
next
so many
week,
questions.
Yeah, same time next week, and we'll be talking about platforms and domain names. All right. So thank you, everyone, for attending, and keep going on the group site. I'll drop in from time to time to see what everyone's talking about and jump in and contribute when I think I can be helpful. Okay. Bye-bye.
Great. Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.